And there is no other part of the state of Minnesota that has a hockey tradition quite like northern Minnesota. That's where brothers Frank and Tom Serratore grew up. That's where they learned to love the game of hockey, and it helped nurture them both into becoming Division I head coaches. Anthony LaPanta sat down with the Serratore brothers to talk about their journey from playing on the ponds to coaching.
All right, so guys, let's just start out talking about hockey in Greenway, and we'll start with the stories you guys were talking about, how your neighborhoods blended to one, and the early rivalries weren't actually with other cities, they were with other guys that were eventually going to land at Greenway High School. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know what, we have 9 communities that make up Greenway. And growing up, we played town team baseball and town team hockey. My first experience was squirts. At the end of the year, they put a team together, and we went to Bemidji. And we won that tournament, but I still remember, too, I was the young kid. The only reason I was on the team, Jim Casey was our coach. And the Caseys grew up about 5 houses down from us. And they needed an extra guy, and I was a 3rd grader, so Jim goes, come on, you're on the team. And they put a jersey on me, and I went down to my knees. But it was basically the best 4th and 5th graders. We had John Casey, Pat Geyer, Mike Genzel. We had a great hockey team. But the first time you put that, it was the first time I ever put on a Greenway sweater, and you know what, there was a lot of pride right there.
And it was all the families, it was all these brothers. The families were so competitive, and we had more fights. The brothers would go at it. We were so competitive. You have a fight, and one thing you learned early on, like if there's a set of brothers getting a fight, you stay out of it, because if you get involved in that, now they're going to turn on you and they're going to come at you.
Does something stand out to you when each of you think of that first time when you were together as Greenway, like the first experience you had together?
I remember going to the first hockey game, and I went in there, and Anton had just graduated, and he was going to the U, and I remember going to the high school game, and like the band's playing, and the building is full, and there was so much excitement, and I'm watching this hockey game, and after a couple of hockey games, I go like, I've never played this before, but I'm going to find a way to be a part of this in some way, shape, or form. It was infectious, and you just wanted to be a part of that.
And back in those days, Greenway was facing an uphill fight in Section 7. I mean, that was in the Grand Rapids heyday, and Hibbing had great teams. So during your era, Greenway never quite made it all the way down to the state tournament. But what were some of those rivalries like?
There was a little bit of shift in power. We had the Caseys, and the Caseys moved over to Grand Rapids, and their
John's 11th grade year.
Yes, because Ray, the older brother, played for Greenway, went to Princeton, and then Jim moved them over to Grand Rapids, and that shifted the balance of power. I say to this day, like if the Caseys stay, Greenway, no question, goes to the state tournament. They move over. They make a strong Grand Rapids team even stronger, and they ultimately win the state tournament.
I look back in 1981, my junior year, I think we had 5 teams in the top 10 in the state. You know, Virginia, International Falls, Hibbing, Greenway, and Grand Rapids. Like, it was hard coming out of our region. If we had that back in the day, the back door, you know, we would have had another team in the state tournament, and we could have had 2 teams maybe win a state championship. But that was the beauty of the Iron Range at that particular time. Things were humming in the 60s, 70s, and throughout the 80s, and we had great hockey teams, and getting to the state tournament was hard, and Grand Rapids had a lot of depth.
Some of those towns produced multiple Division I players, but again, you go back, everybody played, the range was humming, the mines were humming, it was a vibrant...
Paper mills in Grand Rapids, the paper mill in the Falls, I mean, again, no doubt.
Yeah, and sports were everything.
For both of you, then, you move on from high school into playing college hockey, and you both started elsewhere but wound up in Bemidji. How did that happen?
I think proximity, and I think Bob Peters. Bob Peters, one of the greatest, if not the greatest teacher you could have in the state of Minnesota. And in those days, you want to go into education. We both went into education. Bemidji was noted for producing teachers, producing coaches, and having good hockey teams.
I'm telling you, like, Bob Peters just had a way about him. He inspired people to love the game, understand the game, learn the game, and become coaches.
When he was hired in 1966, he left North Dakota to go to Bemidji, and Harry Bangsberg, who was the president of Bemidji State at that time, said, hockey's a part of the fabric of northern Minnesota. We need to have hockey here. And Coach Peters had buy-in, and he left North Dakota to start exactly what Harry Bangsberg's vision was at Bemidji.
The foundation of my coaching, the foundation of everything we do, still has to do with Bob Peters hockey.
Is there another place where there's more passion and pride for their hometown than there is in northern Minnesota?
No, I don't think so. It's the same fabric. It's the same substance that we all have right there, and I I just think it's a special place, and we were so fortunate to grow up there, and we played, and you know, we just got to play, and there wasn't a lot of pressure, and it was fun, and we never went on a summer vacation. I don't even know what a summer vacation is. The first
We wouldn't
plane
have wanted to go.
No, the first plane ride I took was when I was a freshman in college. That was the simple life that we all lived, and you know what? I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That was just the era, and it was a wonderful time to grow up and a wonderful time to be a kid.